This video is a brief overview of various data displays. Included in this video are dot plots, bar graphs, line graphs, stem plots, and circle graphs. A dot plot is when you use dots to represent how many of each data point you have. For example, in a survey of how long does it take you to eat breakfast, we got the following results. So 0 minutes indicating people did not eat breakfast. Right here, 0 minutes. There were 6 people who said 0. There were 2 people who said 1 minute, 3 people who said 2 minutes, and so on. So your graph is a list of all the possible values that the minutes could take on. So this is minutes to eat breakfast. And then you put as many dots as you had that response. So we had 6 zeros, so we put 6 dots. We had 2 ones, so we put 2 dots. We had 3 twos, so we put 3 dots, and so on. This is for numerical, single variable data. Our next data display is called a bar graph. A bar graph is used only when you have categorical data. Categorical data is data that can be separated into categories. In this particular problem, we're looking at the different ways the U.S. government spends their money. So notice that each bar represents a different area of spending, and the height of the bars represents how much money, here in billions, if you'll notice in the label. Especially important to notice with the bar graph is that there are spaces between the bars. The bars should not touch. We can use a double bar graph when we have categorical data, but we also have 2 subgroups that we're looking at. The free PSA is some sort of blood test. It's something that shows up in your blood, I believe, when you have cancer. Now, they are examining 2 different age groups, blue for the younger and red for the older. Notice again that there are spaces between the sets of bars. A line graph is good for showing trends over time. So notice that the horizontal axis represents the day of the month. So that's an indication that we're talking about time. And the variable we're measuring is rainfall in millimeters. So by using a line graph, we can see very quickly and very clearly that from day 1 to day 2, there was a drop in rainfall. From day 2 to day 3, there was a big jump upwards in rainfall, and so on. So you're showing a trend over time. A double line graph is the same thing. You're showing a trend over time, but this time you're also comparing 2 things. This particular graph, the blue is a website called Music Choice, and the red is a website called Pop Parade, and they're showing the trends over time of the visits to those 2 websites. A stem plot is, these are kind of strange, but it's really just an organizational system. Now let's look first only at the data in the table. Notice that the points earned during the games, 27, 16, 34, and so on, they're mostly, let's see, we have some scores in the teens, we have in the 20s, we have in the 30s, and we have in the 40s. So we don't have that many, tens places represented. So what you do is you treat the tens place as what's called the stem. And then the ones place is the last digit of each one of these numbers, and those are called the leaves. So you're going to put the data in order from smallest to largest, and then you're going to put the stem of 1 in the first column, and then the leaves that go with the stem of 1 in the second column. So for instance, 1, 2 represents the game in which there were 12 points scored, which is right here. then let's look at this one here. Say the stem of 3 and the leaf of 4, that's 34. And that would be this game right here. So stem and leaf is just an organizational system. We can also have a back-to-back stem plot. So here, let's pretend that they asked the girls and boys how many pairs of shoes they had. Well, if I look right here, 1, 5, in the boy column, that would represent a boy who said he had 15 pairs of shoes. If I look down here at the 5 in the middle and the 0 on the left, that would be a girl who reports that she has 50 pairs of shoes. So the stems are in the middle, and then the individual values, for the boys you read from stem to the right, and for the girls you read from the stem to the left. Notice one more thing. A stem plot should always have a key that tells you how to read it and how to understand it. The last graph we're going to talk about is a circle graph. You should only use a circle graph when you're showing parts of a whole. In our example, this is a teacher's way of grading students. There are 4 categories, and those are the only categories this teacher uses. So that represents the whole way that he or she grades. Circle graphs are nice because you can see super fast that the final exam is pretty important. Okay, there's a half of that circle is blue, and blue corresponds to final exam. So be careful never to use a circle graph unless you have every single possible category included in your data. All right, this was a brief description of various data displays. Thank you for watching.